Hey, good evening, church. Welcome to another Live at 5. Hey, thanks for tuning in with us again tonight as we begin to work our way through the book of Titus. If you tuned in last night, I gave you the little bit of encouragement to go ahead and read through the book of Titus, and so hopefully you did that. But tonight we're going to jump in. We're going to spend the rest of the week taking a look at this letter from Paul to Titus and kind of what's going on and some things that we can grab and pull out of here as well. But tonight we're just going to take a look at the first 4 verses, the introduction in chapter 1. And let's understand the background a little bit before we go in here. And to be honest, we're actually just going to focus really on one part from verse 2. But first of all, who is Titus? Titus was a Greek Christian, and he was a former travel companion of the Apostle Paul. In other words, he went with Paul on some of his other missionary journeys. We see reference to Titus a couple different places, one in Galatians chapter 2, verse 3, and then again in 2 Corinthians 8, verse 23. So Titus and Paul have a history. They are friends and they are travel companions. And Titus has been commissioned, if you will, to go to the island of Crete with instructions, I guess, to kind of bring order to the church, or the church is on the island. But we'll talk more about that as we get into the rest of the letter. Now, the island of Crete, it's important for us to understand, was not really what you would call a vacation destination. It was a rough place. Where it was positioned in the Mediterranean, it had a lot of harbors, and so it was pretty strategic in terms of trade. A lot of boats coming and going as those boats serviced other harbors and other cities in the Mediterranean. But the people of Crete were a rough bunch. They were liars, they were greedy, they were cheats. The cities of Crete itself were actually really unsafe. They were violent, they were filled with sexual corruption and immorality. Actually, the Greek word kretizo means to be a liar or to be a Cretan. And so we got to picture a little bit of the type of people on the island of Crete and the place where Paul has sent Titus to bring instruction and order and leadership to the churches there. And the message that Paul wants Titus to bring to the church is essentially twofold. 1, know the truth, and 2, live godly lives. And that brings us to our focal point for tonight. Verse 2 of chapter 1 says, "This truth gives them confidence that they have eternal life, which God, who does not lie, promised them before the world began." And I want to focus on that as we wrap things up tonight. The God who does not lie. Now, not really sure totally what's going on or how it started or where it all came from, but what's happening is these Christians on the island of Crete are beginning to assimilate ideas of the Greek gods with Jesus, and specifically characteristics and ideas about the Greek god Zeus. Okay, and in just a nutshell, it was believed that Zeus was, he was a liar, and he was a seducer, and he was a cheater, and he was a manipulator, and he would do the things that he could do and had to do to get his way and accomplish things. And it's much deeper than that, but on the surface, that's what's going on. And so these Christians are beginning to kind of mix and muddle, if you will. Well, this is what the belief is about Zeus, and maybe that's the same about Jesus, and what's really going on. And so Paul puts that phrase in there, and I don't want us to miss that. The God who does not lie. And this God, as verse 2 finishes, promised eternal life before the world began. Ephesians chapter 1, same thing Paul writes in Ephesians chapter 1. And so Paul wants to emphasize to Titus and have him emphasize then to the churches that this God who does not lie, who does not change, promised them truth through eternal life through Jesus Christ. And he uses that to lay the groundwork, if you will, for the rest of his letter. And church, if we focus on that phrase right there in verse 2, that hits home for us as well, right? I mean, we live in a culture and we live in a time where everything is changing, where it's always here and there and back and forth, and we're never really sure what's going to happen. And along with that, we live in a time where truth is relevant, right? Truth is whatever you want it to be. Truth is perhaps he who screams the loudest. And it's important for us to remember that the same God that Paul's writing here, that God who does not change, that God who does not lie, is the same faithful God that we serve today. That if he has promised something, he will see it through. That this God who promised eternal life through Jesus Christ before the world began, that same promise holds true for us today. So take that note, take it to heart. Remember that we serve a God who does not lie. We serve a God who does not change. We serve a God that is faithful and will do everything that he says he will do. Thanks for tuning in with us tonight. I look forward to seeing you back here again tomorrow night as we finish out the rest of Titus chapter 1. Thanks.